you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. The Eye Test with Pierre, McGuire, and Jimmy Murphy.
The Stanley Cup winning Colorado Avalanche And after 22 years, Raymond Mark!
The sickest NHL podcast. Brought to you by TCS Customs and Logistics. Moving pieces, delivering peace of mind. It's gonna be sick.
And welcome to another edition of the Eye Test here on the Sick Podcast Network. Jimmy Murphy and my partner, Pierre McGuire, is here with me in Lake Placid at the Olympic Center at Roma's Pub and Cafe. Pierre, I didn't want to see you today, and it's not because I don't love you, but I wanted your son, the Northeastern, to advance. What a hell of a game that was. I know they lost in double overtime, but as you said off the air, an instant classic, Pierre.
Instant classic, but congratulations to Ben Barr and the Black Bears from Maine. Their fans traveled. They were great.
Oh my gosh.
What an amazing environment at TD Garden yesterday and last night. Well, it's almost midnight. Two heroic efforts from two great teams. And, boy, I'm proud of the Northeastern men. Jerry Keefe and his staff did a fantastic job. They did a tremendous job, Jimmy. This team had two double overtime games in less than 7 days. They've knocked the number one team in the country out of the Hockey East playoffs in Boston College, at Boston College on Saturday night with a full building. It was amazing theater for the last 8 days. I'm grateful to have witnessed it.
And how about West End Johnny's? Good environment there?
Oh, Johnny had it rocking yesterday.
Nice.
They had basketball, they had hockey, they had it all going on
That's
at West
great.
End Johnny's. Johnny, you're a star. Way to go.
God bless him. I miss you, Johnny. And Pierre, we are here, as I said, at Romer's in the Olympic Center here in Lake Placid. And right behind us, at the same time as the ECAC tournament, it's a Can-Am tournament, Pierre. We have some of the players here. You guys want to make some noise or what? Up, they're all
I hope
excited.
you guys play harder than you talk.
Yeah, come on. Louder. Make some louder noise. Here we go. There we go. Well, welcome aboard. We're glad to have them here and glad to have everybody here. In front of us is the Quinnipiac band. They're getting ready. Quinnipiac and Cornell at 4. And then, of course, Dartmouth and Clarkson later on at 7 o'clock. Pierre, you will be doing the color commentating.
Well,
tell everybody where they can watch that.
I hope it's on ESPN Plus.
I believe it is. And there's nowhere, I just want to make sure nowhere else, right? Just ESPN Plus.
ESPN Plus.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that'll be on ESPN Plus. We will get into all the calls, talking a bit. Quickly, Pierre, I know you didn't have much time to watch the games. We're not going to break down the NHL games from last night. But you and I here were looking at the standings, trying to figure out, all right, who really has a shot right now. And we looked at that game the Montreal Canadiens will host tomorrow after getting a point in Long Island against the Colorado Avalanche at the Bell Center. As you called it off the air, a linchpin game coming up for the
Yeah,
Canadiens.
huge. They got to beat Colorado. If you look at that schedule, and we went over it, after Saturday night, it gets real hard for Montreal. It's not just because of the level of opponent. It's the amount of games.
7 and 10.
7 and 10 days.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's travel.
Mhm.
And one of those games is a matinee game in Florida.
Yep.
So, like, that's a hard deal. I'm not trying to be negative.
No, you're just being
Nancy,
real.
Just telling them I'm really excited for this team.
Right.
The fact they got a point last night on Long Island was good.
Yep.
Could have been 2, but it wasn't. But I'm excited for this team, Jimmy. But they got to win tomorrow night.
Yeah.
That's a really important game for them.
It is. And as we've said, Pierre, I think it was just a week ago, everybody was jumping on the Ottawa Senators bandwagon, and you caution them, like, just live in the moment. They haven't done anything yet. And sure enough, as we wake up today, the Ottawa Senators are on a 2-game losing streak.
I didn't like their body language in Montreal.
Yeah.
And I watched the game like everybody else did. But I'm watching for different things sometimes. Where are your leaders? Where are your role players? What's the communication level like after a guy scores or a guy makes a mistake? That's the thing that impressed me last night with both Northeastern and Maine.
Mhm.
When Northeastern fell behind 2-0, I saw a couple of their guys going, it's okay, calm down. And boom, they strike right away in the power play when Scovian scores, and they're back in the game.
Yep.
Then Cam Lund scores, boom, 2-2. Then they go ahead 3-2. It was all based on people calming everybody down. And then I watched Maine. The same thing on their bench. They're down 3-2, 10 minutes ago. Calm down.
Yep.
And they did.
And they did.
I'm watching Ottawa play Montreal the other night, and I'm going, nobody's doing that.
No.
So they got to get back to that. And I know they have guys that are capable of doing it.
They
I
do.
know those guys. They got to get there.
They got to get back to that. You got to live in the moment, as we said yesterday, even for the college kids here as well. But you look at that race right now, Pierre, and as we were saying, credit to the Islanders. I don't know if they're going to make it, but they're scrapping. They're still in there, and they're hanging around. And as we saw, they got a big 2 points in that win against the Canadiens. You look at that team, Pierre. Did you envision them being in this situation earlier in the season?
I just thought they were going to have a chance. So, Jimmy, Patty's a good coach. Pat's
done
a
an amazing
good
job.
coach.
Yeah.
Johnny McLean is a way undervalued coach. I've been saying it for a long time. I had known Johnny Mack. We were in training camp together as players. I have so much time and respect for Johnny. He understands the sport. He understands special teams, both power play and penalty kill. He was a way undervalued, tough player. He was a tough guy when he played, and he was so highly skilled. He could really score. He and Patrick are like a really good tandem. They're good together. I didn't think they'd be in the race this late, especially when you consider all the injuries they've had.
And they traded their captain.
So that's what I'm saying. Brock Nelson's gone.
Yeah.
So I'm glad they didn't trade Noah Dobson. I would have got really angry at that because
I never believed any of that. I really didn't.
I was hoping it wasn't true, but I don't know.
You never know, though.
And the one thing I'd say is, like, you know, you look at it, Noah's a really good player. Like, he's an important player there.
Yeah.
Long term, he's a hugely important player there. They'll have to figure out his contract, but I think they can. But I did not, Jimmy, to be fair, I did not see them being in the hunt this late.
Well, across the river there, the other team, Pierre, the New York Rangers, they're in trouble. And we've been waiting and waiting for them to just turn that corner. There's been a couple glimpses of maybe they can do it, and they don't. They just fall back. I don't know what to say anymore about this team.
Well, I think you do. You're saying it now.
Yeah,
you're right on.
guess.
You're not wrong. You're right. And I'm good for you for having a strong voice. I didn't like the other day after they got pile driven by Calgary on home ice and they only had 13 shots on goal. The next day they had an optional practice, an OPT, as they call it in the business. And a bunch of those star players, not a few, a bunch of them, chose not to exercise their option to go on the ice. That's bull poop.
Yep.
That's not appropriate. And I told you that wasn't appropriate.
Yeah.
And what happens the next game? They lose again.
Yep. And then I remember I sent you a tweet. Somebody put it up and said, this is what should have happened to the Rangers today.
Mike Keenan.
It was Mike Keenan from the 90-94 season when they broke the curse and won the cup. And they had got blown out the night before.
By Anaheim.
And he had them doing
Anaheim.
He had them doing what do they call it? Suicides back and forth, up and down the ice, nonstop for 40 minutes. And I said to you, I think that's what this team needs, but I don't know if a coach could do that today.
Well, they could.
They probably hear it.
That's the last thing they're going to do.
Yeah,
they could do it.
They should. I mean, sometimes it's needed, Pierre. Sometimes you need that. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes right now in terms of level that's doing to get this team going. But I wondered, is it too late now to do something that drastic? Is it just, are you too far down the road?
I don't know. I don't know their chemistry well enough. I thought they started to turn the corner, Jimmy, when they got JT Miller.
Yeah.
I really did. And I was in Pittsburgh to watch him play on a Sunday afternoon. JT Miller was lights out good. He was really good.
Yep.
They won the game because there's Sturkin and JT Miller. The rest of the team was not very good that day, but they won that game. Imagine if they would have lost that game to the Penguins, where they'd be now. They'd be over.
Yeah.
But JT Miller pulled them out of the ditch on that one. I don't know what happens there, but here's what I do know. I thought the season was lost. We were doing our podcast in July and August.
Yep.
And I remember you and I both were talking. I said, something's not right. This stuff with Troop is not right. Somebody's leaking internally, and the players aren't going to like this. And then you started to read about Zibanejad, and then you started to read about Kreider, Jimmy. And you start seeing all this stuff, and you're like, you know what? There's a problem here.
Yeah.
There's a problem.
Yeah.
So I think all this stuff in New York started in the summer.
I'm with you on that. Kind of like Boston, the team I cover with the whole Swayman holdout. Same thing. They never recovered from that.
Well, this is a great example. If you're an agent watching this, if you're a young player, I get contract negotiations.
Yep.
I know they're hard. I know sometimes you got to be a stick in the mud if you're the agent. And I know sometimes you got to be the stick in the mud if you're the general manager or the guy negotiating. But you got to get it done before the guy misses camp. I don't care how good players are. I don't care how many years they've been in the league. You can't miss camp.
Yeah.
When you miss camp, it fouls up so many things.
Yeah. And Swayman even admitted that to us up at the Four Nations face-off, where he was the third-string goalie for USA, Pierre. He said, he called the Four Nations face-off the training camp he never had. And he said, I really needed it, and I didn't realize it.
And this is not a knock on all the stuff that he did, because I know he took care of himself.
Oh, yeah.
I know he worked hard with different
And
colleges
he's a great
around
teammate.
Boston. He's an awesome kid.
Yeah.
He's an awesome, and he is a kid. He's an awesome kid.
Yep.
And I'm telling you, he really is. I've had really nice visits with him. But his season's gone awry, and I think the Bruins season has gone awry, and a big part of that is because of camp.
Yep.
And he wasn't there.
For sure on that. Well, let's get into some college hockey, because that's why we're here, Pierre. As we said, it's awesome hockey environment. The Can-Am's here. Want to say hi to our friend Matt from Can-Am.
Oh, yeah.
Great guy. He remembered you from last year. And we're looking at the Quinnipiac band, getting ready here. Let's look at this first game right now, Pierre. A lot a lot of implications in the NCAA tournament. Obviously, the winner of this championship here, this Final Four in the ECAC, gets in automatically. But do we think a team that doesn't advance to win this thing, could the loser of the final still get in?
Be hard. It'd be really hard, especially after what happened last night in Boston in double overtime, because I think there's a team out in the Midwest in the Big Ten, University of Michigan, Maize and Blue. I think they think that. Thank you. I think they think they have a legitimate.
I got to give a shout out to Alexa here.
Yeah, Alexa,
amazing.
University of Massachusetts.
Of course,
girl,
she's a fellow UMass.
So anyway, she was kind enough to get me a coffee, which was very appreciated.
Which you need after that ride.
But anyways, so Michigan, I think they still think they have a fighting chance, and I think the winner from here's. Well, I know the winner from here's going.
But you think that's it?
You got to win this thing.
Yeah.
Really. So I was here 2 years ago. Harvard went, they lost in the final. Quinnipiac went, they lost in overtime in the semifinal. Colgate went, and they won the ECAC. And Cornell went, and they lost in the semifinal. So all 4 teams that were here 2 years ago went to the NCAA tournament. That's not happening.
No, that's not happening.
That's
right
not
now
happening
here.
this year.
Look at this game right now. The first game, Quinnipiac and Cornell, obviously could be Coach Schaefer's last game as head coach at Cornell and in college hockey, if he loses. But when you look at that matchup,
product placement, is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. They can advertise with us too. Starbucks, hit me up if you want to, get a little free ad space here. It's we'll help you out.
Thank you.
Anyhow, when you look at this matchup, I'm going to ask you a strength and a weakness from each team. So go with Quinnipiac first.
Well, depth, I think, is going to be a big question mark. When I talked to Coach Pecknold at the start of the year, Jimmy, he said, I haven't had a team this young and this inexperienced in a very long time. And he was trying to figure out their lines and their depth. I think finally, when he got to the middle part of the year, after the 4th of January, he kind of figured it out.
Well, he said he did a line switch. Remember, he told us yesterday. Yeah.
So I was there. They lost to Northeastern 5-1.
Mm-hmm.
They got throttled. And right after that, I think things
that was
started
the wake
to turn.
up call.
That was their kind of, okay, now we know where we got to go.
Yeah.
And so I think they got there. So I think limited depth might be part of their issue. We'll see. But his tactics are really good.
Yeah.
And so if you're not prepared tactically to play against him, and I know Schaefer from Cornell is, because there are no secrets. They're the 2 longest tenured guys in the ECAC.
Yep.
They've been coaching against each other at a high level for a long time. So Schaefer's not going to be surprised. The problem, I think, for Cornell is going to be offense. Will they have enough offense to play against the structure of Quinnipiac's defense? So we'll watch for that.
Yeah, and it's funny. I remember yesterday when Coach Pecknold was on the show here, he said straight out, he goes, this is going to be a 1-goal game. So he's already expecting a grinding, low-scoring affair, and it is.
The one thing I'd say, because we're in Lake Placid, so the dimensions of the rink are a little different.
Uh-huh. They just shrunk it a bit, though, didn't they?
Little,
yeah, but not completely.
Not completely.
So would you consider this a hybrid or no?
Yeah, this is more like Finnish, rink in Finland. So it's conducive to physical contact, but not as much as you would have at Liner Rink.
Okay.
Not as much as you would have down in Quinnipiac.
Okay.
So
that could benefit Quinnipiac a bit?
That could help Quinnipiac.
All right. We look at the other game, Clarkson and Dartmouth, Pierre. Strengths and weaknesses for both of them.
Dartmouth's interesting because they're really well coached.
Mm-hmm.
Reed Cashman's done an amazing job. They've got mobility, tremendous, probably the most mobility of any defense in this tournament.
Okay.
In the ECAC. They got really good mobility on the back end. So that's something to watch. And so I think if Clarkson can't generate a forecheck because of that mobility of the Dartmouth defense, that's going to be a problem for Clarkson.
Mm-hmm.
Clarkson's face-off play is really good. Watch a player named Ellis Rickwood.
Okay.
He's a really good face-off player for them. They manufacture a lot of set plays in the offensive zone and also in their own zone, coming out of their own zone off face-offs. But my concern for Clarkson is if they can't get that forecheck going, are they going to be outside of Martino, who's their best scorer, and he's a Hobie Baker nominee? I don't know if they're going to have enough offense to beat Dartmouth. I just don't. That's going to be the forecheck for Clarkson's got to be very apparent today.
And also remind our listeners and viewers here the goaltending situation there.
So I found something
could
out.
Be a major role.
Be a major.
Yeah.
So the goalie for Dartmouth transferred from Clarkson, and he's at Dartmouth now. but I don't know who's playing. There's lots of rumors
Right.
that maybe Dartmouth's not going to play the young man that was at Clarkson last year. So this is a game time kind of alteration.
Right.
We'll see.
But
We'll
there
see.
could be some underlying factors there, motivation from both sides.
Yeah.
Pierre, but like we were saying, I agree with you. I mean, I think it's the winner of this gets in, and that's it. You know, I even if I want to ask you actually.
Let me ask you this.
Yep.
Let's just say that Quinnipiac wins today.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say Dartmouth wins today. Let's say Dartmouth beats Quinnipiac tomorrow. Could they get 2? Maybe.
Right.
Maybe.
Okay.
But I think that's a reach.
How much does the quality of play, like even if you lose, so like last night, Northeastern played their hearts out. They played great, back and forth game, and they just came off beating BC. How much does, even if you lose, how you play in that final game matter? No, not enough.
Used to.
It used to, but not with the
Used
pairwise.
to, not with pairwise. Computers
See, I
don't
think-
sense
yeah.
that stuff. So I
think
get it.
that should matter.
I asked Coach Pecknell yesterday.
Yep,
You heard
he
me. I said,
disagreed with us.
no, because I get it. He's part of this. He's part of the system.
Yep.
It's okay. I don't mind him disagreeing. I think it's
Yep.
great. It's at least a really good discussion and formulating opinion going forward. And you know what I think it ran. I
Yes.
respect him
Yep.
a lot. And I have reasons not to because there have been some altercations, but I like them. So what I'd say is there's got to be a mechanism where if a team plays poorly,
Yes.
and even though they're a top-rated team, they still slide backwards. Whereas I think in pairwise, that doesn't happen.
Mm.
And back in the day when I was coaching, you would always go look at the rankings after every game from this outlet in Michigan, in northern Michigan.
Okay.
After every game, they put out something on the computer, and computers were in their infancy.
Yep.
But you could dial this 800 number, and they would tell you. So it was really good for us back. We were dinosaurs.
So
back
they would
then.
factor it in though. Like if you took the team to double overtime and you lost
That'd
in
be
the final,
it'd be
that would
factored in. Or
yeah.
let's just say you lost 8-1.
Yeah.
That'd be factored in too.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's fair enough too.
Exactly.
So we'll see there. Hey Pierre, any players when you look at on Quinnipiac? Ricketts was the guy you mentioned yesterday, right?
He's a
Did he
tough
switch up?
kid. Played at Holy Cross, transfer, really good player. Michigan kid, I think. He's got a chance to get signed.
I know that one.
He's had a tremendous season.
The guy I wanted to ask you about was Travis Trelaw.
Really smart center iceman, can play wing, bigger body, lot of experience. He's been here for a while now. Good test for him. He's one of those players. He and Victor Cherneska are two guys that have to elevate offensively. And Sir Bones had a really good year for them.
Looking at that.
So he's another one that's going to have to. And you'll see on their defense, Rand likes bigger guys in defense, so they're big. And they've got pretty good mobility on the back end. They don't have the same skill level as maybe they had a year ago on defense. So I think that might be a bit frustrating for them, but they're big. They got a lot of big trees on the back end. They do.
All right. Pierre, I don't mean to bring it up. I know because you're fresh off Northeastern losing, but when we look at I want to talk about the Hockey East final here. UConn is.
Well,
Nobody wants to listen to us on UConn.
We
Pierre.
talked about I saw them play Colgate the first 2 games of their season, and I called Jimmy up driving home after the second game.
Yeah.
And I said, Jimmy, Mike Cavanaugh might be coach of the year. I'm not kidding you. Jimmy knows.
Yep.
I said, he's totally redefined what his team is, and they're nowhere near as good on paper as they were last spring. They're nowhere near as good, but they look better. And then I love what Nate Lehman said after they lost to UConn at UConn last Friday. Nate Lehman says they're a better team without those 3 NHL draft picks that all transferred. Nate Lehman said that.
Wow.
I didn't say that. And he said they're a team. I watch all these teams. I so much passion for this, and I respect all the guys because I know what they go through. And I've been watching Mike the whole year, and I've been sending him texts, and I couldn't be more proud of him. As a coach, as a former coach.
And by the way, congratulations to him getting coach of the year in hockey.
Mike, so happy and proud of you, Mike.
But I think they're a good lesson for teams, Pierre, in terms of, you see kids coming up trying to get into college hockey, or maybe they've got scholarships and now they're going to play. How important just unity is in a team is versus just high-end skill. I think they are the perfect example of all the teams still playing right now of how important forming that identity is, buying in, and executing on the ice.
So when you watch UConn play, they're a
mean
vicious forechecking team, vicious,
Yep.
and not dirty. They're vicious because they never let the defense of the opposition rest.
Yep.
They're on you. You spend more time in your zone than you spend in their zone. That's number one. Number two, they don't lose races in the neutral zone. Even though they don't have a ton of – they got fast guys, but not that many. Not as fast as BC, not as fast as Northeastern, not as fast as BU, not as fast as Maine. But guess what? They don't lose races in the neutral zone. I think guys know if they lose them, they're not playing. And then finally, when they need to block shots, they block shots.
Mm-hmm.
They've all bought into what Coach Kavanaugh is selling. I couldn't be more happy for him and his group. And, they taught BU a lesson yesterday.
Yeah, and you know what? You made a good point to me when we were talking this morning, Pierre, that forecheck that you just mentioned could be the difference in this championship game because Maine played late into the night last night. I don't care how in shape you are, you still feel it the next day.
That was a hard game. Those that watched it, the Northeastern Maine game was so hard physically. Congratulations again to Ben Barr, all the Black Bear fans. You folks were amazing down in Boston Garden.
Yeah, they traveled.
It's called TD Garden now. I apologize to the sponsors. I'm just dating myself.
That's okay.
I coached in the Boston
I missed when
Garden.
it was Boston Garden.
And won championships
Yes,
in that
you did.
Boston Garden too.
It changed in the hallway.
Yes, we did. Yeah, we did. Changed in the hallway. But Jimmy, Maine made that a spectacle. The fans from Northeastern were phenomenal. But that was a hard game. That was a hard game for Northeastern. That was a really hard
quick
game.
turnaround.
They played late.
Yep. It's
The
less
other
than
guys
24
played
hours.
early. Other guys, they were done at 7 o'clock.
Yep.
These guys weren't done until 11:30.
So if you're Kavanaugh, you got to be stressing that to them, being like, listen,
Just watch.
take advantage of that early.
Here's what, if you're watching the game, watch the first 12 minutes. I don't think it's going to be easy for the Maine defense.
No.
So one thing I'd say that can alleviate some of that, not
That's
all
where I
of
was
it,
just going to go.
face-offs.
Okay.
So Maine's really good on Harrison Scott, excellent on face-offs. Thomas Friel, really good on face-offs. They're guys, they're good on face-offs because Northeastern, I think, was the best percentage face-off team in the country. They had two guys in Williams and McGuire that are really good on face-offs, really, really good on face-offs. And so the other guys for Maine were outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
If they can control face-offs tonight, that'll take some of that forecheck away.
And they can survive that onslaught in the beginning.
But
That
they
would be
have
interesting.
if they're not 60% or better on face-offs tonight, I think it's a hard game for them to win. Really
All
hard.
right, Pierre, listen, I know that you got to go. You got an interview to do with our friends up at TSN 690, and then you got to get ready for the game here. You're doing color. I'm so happy to see you, even though under unfortunate circumstances.
It's good.
I know.
That's what hockey's about.
But it's good to have my teammate back.
I was so proud of those kids from Northeastern and Jerry Keefe and his staff.
Yep.
They deserve a lot of credit.
Yeah. Their head should be held high.
Very
for
high.
sure.
They're the first 9th seeded team ever to make it to the Final Four of Hockey East, and they had to knock off the number 1 seed in an unbelievable building at Conti Forum on Saturday night.
Yep.
It was fun.
And if your son is watching, Ryan, I want to wish him the best of luck. Congratulations on a great career, Ryan. I know your father's really proud of you. So, all right, there goes Pierre McGuire. Thanks for joining us. We will shortly. We're supposed to be joined by former Detroit Red Wings head coach Derek Lalonde. Was kind of a last-minute guest edition, so he's going to be meeting us here hopefully soon. But until then, I don't know what we got going in the comments section. Are there any questions? Oh, here he is. Here's Derek Lalonde. So we'll get back to the questions. All right. Hey, Coach. How you doing? Jimmy Murphy. Pleasure to meet you. Come on in. I'm not Irish at all. So there you go. As I was saying, Derek Lalonde joined us here on the eye test. Derek, what brings you up to the ECAC?
Yeah, I was told I was being the keynote speaker.
Oh.
And when I'm told by Doug Christensen, and I know those hands have punched people before, I was like, yeah, I'm doing it. So I came up keynote, do some things like this. Huge honor experience. I feel connected to this league growing up in the North Country. When I was 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old as a young hockey player, to go to Clarkson games, to go to St. Lawrence games, to see Harvard come in, to see Yale, schools like that. It was bigger in life. It made me dream big. Yeah. So I feel a connection being in the footprint of the ECAC. And obviously, you never want to get fired in the National Hockey League. And this is my first experience. but it's opportunities doing things like this that have been rewarding. So this will bring me. And even my college teammate Ben Todd is ripping up some music 10 feet from us.
Nice.
That is like
He's great.
little things like that. So that's again
Good ambiance for our
good
show.
ambiance.
Like, you guys mind music?
Yeah,
Music. I
bring
love
it on. He's
playing some hip right now.
also, and I love fortunate enough to win our 2 Stanley Cups.
Yep.
And obviously, I was able to bring it home in Brazier, and all my buddies that weren't North Country guys, they couldn't believe that we have our own hip cover guy. And he was ripping in the day, he was ripping it up at night. And they were more excited about us having our own tragically hip guy.
Yeah, one of my good friends, he's the lead singer for a band called the Peelers. It's like Irish punk rock.
Yeah.
But anyhow, it's a big hip fan, so he was at the last show ever.
Yeah, amazing.
He to this day gets choked up talking about it. I'm like so jealous.
Yeah.
I never got to see them. I wish I did.
Hill Gord, it's amazing.
Yeah, Gord was a man. So tell us, what have you been doing since you left the Wings?
So once I left the Wings, it's interesting. You get fired, which is a very new experience, and unbelievable. I literally tell people all the time, I had more texts and phone calls when I got fired than I did when I got hired or won our Stanley Cups. And I think that speaks volumes of some friendships I've had and stuff like that. But the experience with my peers, like the Bruce Cassidy's, the Pete DeBoers, they almost are laughing at me. But you're like, hey, guys, you're on 1. Like, come see me when you're on 5. But they said it's going to be unbelievably rewarding, and you have to trust me on this. And I have a senior at Taft Prep School. I literally was able to watch 8 games in a row,
which you could never
do before, and just highs and lows, watching, being there for him. I have an 08 playing for Little Caesars, being able to be at all of his games, run a ton of practices. They joke that I was the highest paid AAA coach for about a month there, getting them ready for states and then nationals. Time with my daughter, but things like that. I've done some TV for Sportsnet.
Awesome.
Looks like I might be doing some TV for the playoffs there, and opportunity like this. Chad Cassidy and Doug Christensen call, and you can do things like this. So I've been doing a lot, but based around being around the family, but it's been awesome.
That's awesome. Now, if you go on Sportsnet, will you be with Mike Futa? At all?
So it's funny. What's your relationship with Mike? Okay, good. So Mike is unbelievable. So I did a couple years ago. I did some playoffs. Obviously, we didn't make it that year in Detroit, and Mike does it. He followed up, and even I did the deadline day, and Mike texted me. I tried to catch up before. Catch up. Well, Biz and Bieksa took the whole show that day, which was an experience. You can't show those guys, but I didn't know he had to do it. Mike's been good.
He's great.
Personality
I got to know him way back through Dean when he was with the Kings and everything. I went to a couple cup parties because I knew people with the team, and it's always been good to me. Awesome guy. So you said being back here, it's nice. How did you end up knowing Doug Christensen?
A lot of relationships. First of all, Chad Cassidy, the general manager of the Olympic Center, was a college teammate of mine in Cortland.
Okay.
So we were laughing last night. Cortland got referenced in our keynote speech 2 or 3 times, and we're like, half the guys have never even heard of Cortland. The typical British Columbia kid playing for Dartmouth, like Cortland. What the hell is Cortland? So that was one relationship. But Doug Christian, just being in the coaching circles, and my assistant coach for the Detroit Red Wings, Jay Verity.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And Doug were line mates at Union. Nice. And it was funny.
The hockey world's so small.
Well, that line, it was literally the toughest. I remember the line.
Oh, yeah.
They were the toughest line in the history. We read stats backwards. But, part of my message last night was such respect for this league and so many ways, but it was my experiences being at Tampa Bay and having Jeff Halperin as an assistant me, winning Stanley Cups with him. But the way he talked about Princeton and his experiences, God, we would talk about the 1998 championship here in which he was the MVP. Chris Bernard, a neighbor of mine and a close friend, he ran Chris Bernard that night out of the net. Wow. We had a couple pops this night, called Chris to confirm, like little things like that. Having Alex Westland as my goalie coach of the Detroit Red Wings. He was the ECAC goalie of the year in 1997. And to hear him talk about his experiences, talking about Jay Verity and Union. And we in the NHL, when we go on the road, we call it the circuit. And you're going city to city, and you'll have your restaurants you like. But a lot of it is you're catching up with old friends and teammates.
Or building new relationships.
Building new relationships. But Alex Westland, his Yale's buddies would come. Jay Verdi, his Union buddies would come. Jeff Halper, his Princeton buddy. And first of all, the passion they had for playing, but every single one of those guys was either, and this is no exaggeration, there was either a doctor, a lawyer, retired, or they were like, I want to sell the business, but the board won't let me. I'm like, oh, real world problems. Like, but I think that speaks volumes of this league and what it's about. It's what's off the ice too.
Yeah, I was talking to Bancroft.
Yep.
You know, I said, what's it like going to an ECAC school like this? And he said everything you just said. He says, you know what? It's actually having to be ready for class.
Yes.
It's helped me be ready.
It's
for
amazing
sometimes because it makes you so disciplined.
Yeah.
You understand what you got to do to get, and you have to keep it in the back of your head. Hey, I'm not always going to be a hockey player. And I have a chance to establish myself outside of hockey if need be.
100%. Yeah. So one other note I had, or point of emphasis I had in my speech last night, was I coached in the old CCHA, you know, where Ferris would play Michigan and Michigan State, and they would roll into our little rink, and we'd love beating them. And if we didn't beat them, we'd get some flesh. And then I was in the old WCHA, where we would have the same thing happen to us. We'd go up to Houghton, and Michigan Tech would put us on our heels in one night. And then the North Dakota and Minnesota were still must-see TV rivals. Obviously, that left. And I had left to start my head coaching journey at the same time the Big Ten was formed, at the same time the NCHA was formed. And my point to that was formed because those leagues and those teams were looking for an identity. The ECAC already had an identity. And all I watched from there was the ECAC still be really special. I watched Yale win a national championship. I watched Union win a national championship. I watched Quinnipiac win a national championship. And I'm like, keep pushing the league. You know, but you were great years ago. You're great now. You're going to be great going forward. I think it's a pure league that I think when all this dust continues to settle and the new CHL player being available, I still think the ECAC is going to be a premier league for the reasons we talked about.
I hope so too. And you know, you bring up those when Union, Quinnipiac, and all that, Yale do that. I felt like that was a good starting point for not just ECAC schools, but for other smaller schools in D1 hockey to start to get recognized, to start to realize, hey, we can make it this
100%. It's
always
the beauty of the sport.
You didn't hear about these small schools, you know, and they didn't get enough recognition. But now they know they can get to that
100%.
point. So I thought that did wonders for the world. Let me ask you, if you don't mind me asking about time in Detroit.
Yep.
When you look back on that experience, what was the one thing you say, man, I thought we had it there, and if I did this different?
Great question. First of all, what you do is you understand the value of experience. I had trouble breaking into the National Hockey League because these coaches kept getting recycled, and it was frustrating, but now I understand it's those experiences that make you great. So first and foremost, I'm extremely appreciative of the experience. Even coming in over the first 2 years, we improved the group 17 points in the standings. Not many teams in the entire league can say that. Obviously, last year, we had 91 points. We were in literally a virtual tie. Even the tiebreak rule 3 years ago, it was ROW. We would have made the playoffs. They changed it 2 years ago, the RW, and we missed out. I think it was just going into a third year with that momentum. Expectations were completely different, and in some reality, maybe a little unfair. We were a team that probably overachieved the year before. Expectations change. Understanding that's part of it. Not hiding behind that, not stressing behind that, not being different behind that. Understand it's just a reality of it. So of course, there's things you grow from. Our penalty kill was a disaster. It was last in the league. And unfortunately, it's killing them now. It's even worse than our issue is that. So there's many things you can do structurally, but maybe be a little more understanding. It's a cycle. Be a little more true to who I really am and my identity in that third year, which ultimately ended up being the year I got let go.
You look at that team though, in the core, the young core they have. They've got a lot of good young guys coming. Is there like one player you think of to tell our fans to keep an eye on him down the road?
Oh, well, the two young, Lucas Raymond is a special player. Mo Sider is at least, Dylan Larkin. If anyone no one's wanted to listen to me forever, how good of a player he was. And then he goes to Four Nations and he pops like that. So those are special. It's interesting. They had a little uptick in success when the new coach comes, and everyone's like,
that happens.
Well,
Like,
it happens, but everyone's like, "Is that disappoint you?" I'm like, it's weird because it doesn't. Because you root for Larkin, and now when they've hit rock bottom, they've lost. I lost exactly. I lost 9-11, and people. I've had buddies send me me smiling emoji, like a Dr. Evil is so happy now.
Right.
No, it's not the case. Like you root for the guys because you build those relationships. And it's a little story, but we had a slow start, and now it's noise. It's the reality of any coach in their third year, and the fact that we were knocking on the playoffs the year before. The noise hits, but even though that slow start, we'd win 2, we'd lose 2. We were up and down. We're flirting with 500. We never had kind of that poor wow game. Yeah. We went into Philly and we got smoked 4-1 and we were awful. Yeah. And that was one of those wow. And that's the first time I go to the hotel that night. I'm like, I might get fired. Yeah. It's the first time it becomes real. And our guys feel it. And what did our guys do next game? We smoke Toronto at home, who were on a 7-8 game heater. And then the same Philly team that beat us 4-1 day, we put 6 on them and smoked them. Those guys played their butts off for me. So I root for them. I care for them. It's all part of the experience.
Yeah, I stay in touch with Bruce Cassidy sometimes. And even the players, too, tell me they keep in touch. Yeah. I'm glad you said that because I think fans think, okay, there's bad blood. That coach got, and it's not that way.
Never that way. It's the relationships.
You're going into these battles with them. You're nurturing these young players. And you cheer for them as their careers go on. So
you do, and to watch and to see Raymond, I was extremely hard on him. I was worried about his practice habits. I was worried about his approach.
But it's because you knew he had it,
and I knew he had it. I'm worried that because that's we're building. It's more important to develop him than it is winning sometimes. And I was worried. I'm like, you don't have it. You don't work hard enough. You don't do that. And I was hard on him. And all he did was respond and turn into an absolute star. And he's just going to keep growing. So there's relationships like that and growth like that people don't see. But it's not like that. Some of the best phone calls I had after getting let go were from the teammates, the guys. And of course, they're going to want to latch onto something. And they're going to want to rally around the new coach. It's all part of the experience. It's new for me. But Pete DeBoer. He called and he's like, Lou Lamoriello fired me on Christmas Eve. And it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. It doesn't feel that way right now, but and you know what? It's played out that way.
I know if you want, you'll be back, my friend.
I hope so. We'll see what happens.
Listen, thanks for joining us. I appreciate
Anytime.
it. Last minute, I appreciate that.
Yeah, you got it.
Enjoy the games. I'll see you around, all right?
Absolutely.
All right. Derek Lalonde joining us here on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network. Again, we are live from Roamers at the Lake Placid Olympic Center here. Really good crowd starting to turn out here as we get closer to game time at 4 o'clock. Winnipeg and Cornell. And then, of course, Clarkson in Dartmouth in the second game at 7:30. My good teammate, Pierre McGuire, is off getting ready to do the color commentating for the first game. They also had his regular radio appearance with TSN 690. While I have the chance, before we go to the Q&A here, I want to give a big thanks to, first off, the ECAC, Doug Christensen, Julia Webster, Alexa, and there's the whole crew, Nick. Everybody here has been so wonderful to me because Pierre wasn't here. I didn't know any of them. Pierre already knew these people. They took me in like their own, and I want to give a big thanks to them. I also want to thank Summer as a bartender here at Roamers. She really helped me find a good spot to set up each day, helped me find chairs and tables and everything I needed to get this podcast going here. So thanks to them, and thanks to the Lake Placid Brewery, pub and brewery, I should say. Amazing staff over there as well. If you're ever in Lake Placid, I highly suggest going to that bar. It's 3 floors. And what's really cool is on the second floor, this is like a big college town, college hockey town. So on the second floor, somebody started, I guess, back in the day, started putting up college pennants. And it became a tradition. And so now, I don't know if you've ever been to a bar at some bars in New York City, Boston too, you'll see police patches. Same idea. So they leave their alma mater's pennant. And I swear to God, they got about 200 colleges in there. I found my alma mater, UMass. But it's a really cool atmosphere. And just this whole city in general. Oh, the Bluebird Hotel I want to thank. High Peaks where I'm staying. Seriously, if you ever get a chance to come here, make it happen. I'm going to come back here in the summer. I'll have more time to kind of walk around and do all the tours and see all the sights. But it's just beautiful setting as I look into this camera. I got the mountains in the background there. And, of course, now I'm in this historic Olympic rink. Looking forward to watching some hockey here, right where USA pulled off the miracle in 1980. So big thanks to everyone. And, of course, to our awesome staff up in Montreal at Sick Podcast Network for helping us produce and helping us get everything straight with sound and camera. We appreciate their help. All right, let's talk about our sponsors here. TCS Customs and Logistics. Unlock the full potential of your shipping operation with TCS Customs and Logistics. From around the corner to around the world, flatbeds, freight, customs clearance, to drawback consulting, TCS is a one-stop shop for all things transport, moving pieces and delivering a peace of mind. For a no-obligation customs or freight quote, contact Sick Podcast at shiptcs.com. Again, that is Sick Podcast at shiptcs.com. And, of course, our wonderful gambling sponsors, where I apologize, you didn't get that under in that Northeastern Maine game. That was a much more back-and-forth game than I expected, except when it got to overtime. Then it couldn't score for 2 hours. But anyhow, I did lead you in the right way with UConn over BU, though. And I'm going to tell you right now, after I tell you a little bit more about Betway, you can go right now still. And on your first bet, win or lose, you get $200 credits. Go to the QR code right in front of you there if you're watching and sign up for a new account. Or go to the details section on the website. You can create your new account there and redeem your welcome offer. Again, it's only available for new customers. It is not available in Ontario. Terms and conditions apply, and you must be 18 plus. So let's get right now to my sick pick of the night.
It's time for Sick Picks. Brought to you by Betway.
All right, here we are. We're live from the ECAC Championship, so I'm going to give you a bet here from this game. I'm going to look at the Quinnipiac-Cornell game, and I am going to go with Quinnipiac on the money line. Last I checked, they're minus 130, so it's pretty even value. It's almost a pick 'em. Just take them on the money line. As Coach Pecknold said yesterday, he thinks it's going to be a one-goal game. I'm almost maybe throw a little on the draw on it going to overtime. I could see that happening in both games tonight. So check those values. On a draw, you usually can get like plus 300, so it's good value. And then I'm going to go to the Hockey's final, where I am going to stick with UConn, ride the Huskies wave there. We almost had an all Huskies final if Northeastern had won, but they didn't. So I'm going to go with the UConn Huskies as they go for a Hockey's championship. Well, I think at the same time as their basketball team is playing the NCAA tournament in March Madness. But take UConn there, and I'm even going to go a little further. UConn on the puck line. So right now, if you get them minus 1.5, they are at plus 225 value. That means you bet $100, you win 225. So pretty good value there. And that's what we got there for our picks of the night. Let's go to our question board. I figured because we're early today, not as many people here live, so not as many questions, but it looks like we got 3 right now, so let's bring it up. Renaissance Resistor, what's up, my friend? Are there any college free agents Hugo should be targeting this offseason? Hugo meaning Jeff Gordon and Kenton Hughes. I think one guy, and I'm not just saying this because he's my partner's son, but if they want a good center to win faceoffs and really add some size in the middle six there, Ryan McGuire would be a good pick. There's a lot of guys out there right now, but I think right now you're going to see Montreal not be as active as maybe you thought they would be a year or two ago in the free agent market, just because they've got so many guys coming in the system. They're so deep at so many positions except center. So I don't see them bringing in guys that could get in the way of the kids they already have taking that next step. So that's the only reason I wouldn't see them get active. All right, next question. All right, Jimmy, if you're in New Jersey, would you go to Allen? Yeah, Randy, good question. Allen's been on a roll, except not last night. But, he's been doing better. But you didn't bring Markstrom in to be your backup, all right? And you signed him to a long-term deal here. And this is no disrespect to Jake Allen, who I think is arguably in the last 10 years one of the best. We'll call him a 1B / backup because at times he's been a 1B, and this would be one of those times. But he's amazing. I mean, I think of a story, not to ramble here, but I think of a great story. I think I've told it on here before. When the Boston Bruins were playing the St. Louis Blues in the Stanley Cup final, in practice, Jake Allen decided, or I guess heading into the series, because there's a layoff. I think it was like a 7 to 10 day layoff for both teams. And so Jake Allen decided to study Tuukka Rask techniques in every little movie made. And oh yeah, you're right, Randy. It was Markstrom. And so he would study his moves, and then in practice, he essentially played the role of Tuukka Rask. I think at one time too, even like spray painted pads. From what I heard, I wasn't there at the practice, and it helped. And all the shooters for St. Louis said it helped them tremendously. So that's just a type of team guy he is. If you need to, you can go to him, but I really still would. Markstrom's your guy, and as Randy pointed out, he lost last night, but still give him another chance. See if he can find it before the playoffs arrive. All right, next question. Ethan Russell, what's up, Ethan? Do you think Hellebuck should be playing as many regular season games that he does? Do you think he gets burnt out come playoff time? No and yes. That's simple. I think that's been the main problem with Hellebuck is he's completely burnt out by the time he gets to the playoffs. Then you factor in the 4 nations, okay? And this is one of the reasons I think he can't win big games. He can't win, elimination games or games that could lead to an elimination in the playoffs or the 1-game eliminations in the 4 nations. I'm with you. And they need a backup. We're talking about great backups. A guy like Jake Allen, I don't see New Jersey getting rid of him, but I think that you need somebody like that can come in and play a 1B. Doesn't have to split it necessarily, but take that burden off of Hellebuck in the regular season. All right, next question. Renaissance Resistor. Random question. I run a dealership. Who are the Jay Leno's or biggest car enthusiasts of the NHL? I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. Like, I haven't really. There's one player that played for the Bruins, and now I'm having a brain cramp. I can't remember his name, but I haven't really met many, but I'm sure there's plenty because these guys tend to buy really fancy cars, and they get good deals, as you must know. I don't know. They get great deals with a lot of car dealerships in the city they play in, so I'm sure there's plenty. Is that it, guys? I think that might be it. That's it. Well, that means I can go and check out this wonderful party they're having, the VIP party here at the Olympic Center for the media and special guests here from the ECAC. Listen, again, thanks to our staff up in Montreal. Thanks, excuse me, to Derek Lalonde for joining us here. Thanks to my co-host Pierre McGuire. And thanks to the whole crew of the ECAC for hosting us. This will be our last show here at the tournament. I actually go home tomorrow. I got to be at a dance competition for my daughter. She's in nationals. Really excited about that. So I'll be out of here, but Pierre will be doing the championship game on ESPN Plus. So check him out there and doing the color commentating. Until Monday, enjoy all the college and pro hockey this weekend and have a great weekend.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.